Chris and I are here at Trevellas Porth in St Agnes. Trevellas is the third beach and perhaps the wildest. And we're here at dawn because the light at dawn is amazing. In the summer, we're going to be running Writing with Light, which is a photography course. Its design is to help you become a better photographer. We're also going to be running Songlines. Songlines is a creative writing course, but it's an environmental creative writing course where you'll take in the environment, we will immerse ourselves, and we'll write based on our experiences of navigating the coast path. So Chris is a fellow of the National Geographic Society and a fountain of knowledge.
Dark when you say that.
You can say it, and if you can do a little jig, perfect.
It's got a lot of uses, blackthorn. Down below, if I'm a bit careful, you'll see you've got these amazingly sharp thorns that come off them. So they would have used them quite a lot in hedges and things like that, just to sort of ancient barbed wire, really, to keep livestock and things in fields. And I think it's a bacteria that dwells on the edge. So if you do get a scratch bite, you can get quite a nasty infection. So you have to be a little bit careful. But it's an incredibly dense wood as well. So going for the heartwood down below, people would make priests. So sort of for dispatching fish and things like that, because it's a very heavy wood. Making various weapons like throwing sticks, catapults, things like that.
What's a priest?
So a priest is when you go fishing or what have you, you'd have a heavy stick, quite often with a bit of a lead insert to make it heavier. And it's called a priest because it delivers the last rites. We've got this lovely finger post that indicates down to the coast path, but as I was spending a little bit of a time with it, we're quite kind of used to this in the modern world, aren't we? But from the point of view of what we're trying to do, connecting with nature and our kind of innate human ability to find our way through a landscape, we're standing on a little bit of road, and we've got herring gulls going overhead, squawking and stuff. I can actually see the sea down there, and we've got a valley that goes down towards the sea. I would question whether we need this post here to tell us where the coast path is.
Perhaps we have become a bit too habituated, and we've been needed to be guided by modern conveniences. Well, it's not necessarily modern, and we've stopped connecting.
To your question, I guess, I think the pandemic's really helped with that. And people will very, very rapidly reconnect with nature. And that's the good news, is that if you spend time out in nature and you take time to notice, and I think it's one of the nice links to photography as well, is that you need to take time to notice what's going on, to see how the light's playing on things, to see how the weather is affecting things. We've talked for years, haven't we, about
Well, that's an interesting thing. So, snowdrop.
There's always time to go to the supermarket, there's always time to empty the dishwasher, but there's not time to sit in a piece of woodland for 15 minutes and listen to the birdsong.
What's happened here, Chris?
People have obviously had put fires or barbecues and scorched the ground, and I guess this goes to some extent what we were talking about just now, really. If people have had a nice time down here and they've obviously camped away, it's got to be multiple people. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scorched sites all in the same place, so they couldn't even be bothered to use the same area.
How long will it take to recover?
Well, to fully recover it could take, sort of decades, because that soil that's beneath the grass that's the active layer, that's the live layer, that's been completely killed off. So until that gets churned over and replaced with new soil, that's dead ground now. I love camping, I love bushcraft, I love having a fire and cooking over it. But this style of just camp wherever you like and cause damage, I just can't get my head around it.
Okay, here we go. Bugbear number 11.
So, I blame it on a lot of different things, but people think that they've got to have rocks around their fire, and this one is on the beach itself. So, arguably the tide will sweep stuff away, but we can see that there's all sorts of rubbish in this fire pit as well, which isn't ideal. But this blackening of the rocks will permanently damage it. You've got some kind of plastic stuck onto this rock here, but it's also very dangerous. So this quartzite, I don't know whether you can see on this side, but this has been obviously in the fire, and that's chipping away because it's been superheated. But it can also explode, and then you get little shards of quartz like in your face and stuff. So it's not really ideal, but we can see that somebody's had a nice time here, that they've been burning all sorts of rubbish there. So you've got you know, a kid where a dog could stand on that, sharp bits. It's just not very in touch with the environment anymore.
How do you make a fire, Chris?
Well, the first thing is you need a sensible place to do it. And certainly in the UK, it needs to be a legal place to do it. So if I was making a fire here, I'd probably get a little bit closer to the tide line, so I know that high tide's going to take literally everything away. There's no need to have big rocks around. That's something that's kind of a bit of a hangover from the American scouting manuals in the 1930s. As long as you keep your fire nice and small and nice and controlled, it's not going to spread. And all that happens, as we've seen here, is you end up with a load of black rocks, and it actually stops the heat getting to you as well.
How do you stop it spreading?
Just by managing it, so keeping it nice and small. You could still kind of have in your head that you're going to keep it probably no bigger than that. I would say it's absolutely fine for cooking anything, keeping yourself warm, and then you can just have your sticks in a nice little fire lay in that area there, and then it's not going to spread. If we were in a forest, it would be a little bit different. You might have bits of wood around the place that it could go to, but here it's got nowhere to go to.
There's absolutely no requirement for a rock.
Yep. I know it's disappointing because it doesn't look like an iconic campfire then, but all it does is make the rocks go black and stop the heat from the fire getting to you. And as I said with that bit of quartz, certain rocks will actually explode at you as well, so you've got to be a bit careful. It's always exciting when we've got pieces of driftwood like this to think how far it's come. Like we've got 8,000 miles between us and Brazil. Potentially, it could come on the North Atlantic drift all the way from there. It might be just up the road, but it's more fun to think that it's travelling across the Atlantic. And certainly it's the kind of sort of weight and density that it could well be across the pond.
I suppose partly my tendency, Chris, if I was to see this and if I was to have your eye for a half a moment, I'd come along with my smartphone and I'd go, log, and I'd get my smartphone out and I'd take a picture, probably like that. Gone.
Yep.
And And I would then see that image in my photo stream, and I might register, oh, there was that log. But beyond that, nada. I need to be more aware of it and its environment to take a picture of it.
It's a reasonably wild beach, and you've just got this solitary log sitting on the top of it. The colour contrast is really nice, isn't it? You've got the red of the wood against the blue of the sea, and that's a lovely bit of colour theory, that anything that's towards the red end of the spectrum will pop forward in an image, anything that's blue will recess and go to the back.
On our trip today, we had the blackthorn and the heart of the blackthorn. What was that called again?
The heartwood.
The heartwood.
Yes, so just the sort of the base of the stem where it's at its thickest.
So the blackthorn, the heartwood, the signs, what would we call the area where the fire was? A scarring?
Scarring, yeah.
Or what else could it be?
I think scarring's probably the best, because that's literally what it is on the landscape. Is that's the same as you would get a scar on your skin.
Yeah.
It will either take a long time to heal, or it will never heal.
Yeah.
And obviously visually, it's also a scar for people coming down.
And those rocks. Those rocks blistering, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And
charred. Yeah.
And charred.
Yeah.
And then this, which we think is liable, how it got there, it seems more natural, but when it's unknowable.
Yeah. And it's funny in a way, isn't it? Because it is actually litter. It doesn't belong in this environment.
Yeah.
But I'm totally cool with it, because it's cool and it's natural, isn't it?
Because
it doesn't belong here as much as the bit of metal that we picked up.
But you're not going to put that in your pocket.
I'm not going to put that in my pocket. You need to remember.
What would we call that then? So characterising this log, I think log in poetry or prose, well, it can belong, but it's a funny word. With that, it's quite brief and sudden, isn't it? Log, but arm of a tree, limb would work, and some forgotten limb, maybe.
Yeah, and I can't think of any, because it's things like trunk, wreck. Yeah,
that would work.
It comes to mind as shipwreck.
Our songlines today have been about things that have been abandoned and wrecked along our short journey, and that this is the finale to it, and that we have collected things that have been abandoned. Each thing tells its own story. I think that we've come away with something today that is larger than a quick trip to the beach, which this is not, and it is at the same time. But one thing it will be is more memorable, not least because I'm going to put it on YouTube, but also because we put the time into it. The time that we have to spare.
Tell me